So before we get into this video, a clear disclaimer that I will be covering spoiler content for Volume 18. This will be all spoilers. I'll be covering the ending, so Freya's fate, so I won't be going over the entirety of the volume. I will save that for another video. I'm doing this video early than planned, just because it's become a very big hot topic, and I just feel like I need to talk about it before I get wrapped up in it too much, because I'm talking too much in the comment sections, giving my own opinion, but I kind of want to give my early opinion, and then I will probably give another video where I go over into a more analyzed opinion, kind of more deep dive of the whole journey itself. But I just wanted to give my general first impressions of the ending, and then I'll give more information later on. But this is her fate, which, as I've just noted, my opinion will most likely change. So I would ask, please don't hold this video as my definitive opinion. And my opinion changes even when I say something that I'm very confident in, because I'm that kind of person that loves discussing about things. I love thinking about things, analyzing things, playing devil's advocate. That's the whole point of the channel. That's what I love doing. I love discussing and debating ideas and pretending that I think this way or think that way, and kind of analyzing from different perspectives, because I just think it's interesting to have those discussions. I know some people don't like difference of opinions, but I like playing that game of looking at things through a different lens. And this is a series that you can do that quite often, especially with the fact that I do believe Freya is not evil. I just think she's very, 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 very broken and has done some really horrible things, but I don't think she's evil. What I see as evil is something that would truly drive fear into the very core of your act, like the very core. It would freeze your blood. It would make your heart want to stop. That's what evil feels like to me. Something that would truly drive fear, and something that would truly be a person that would do anything and everything. There'd be no limits. But with Freya, even in the early stages of the volume, you could see a lot of regret, a lot of anguish, a lot of frustration, and she was very lost, misguided, and broken. It doesn't mean what she did was right. No, what she did was extremely wrong, and a lot of people are very angry at her in the city for very good reason, which is why I believed that she would end up having to be upheld to the rules of her familiar members having to train new generation of heroes. So Otter would be possibly training Eyes and Belle so that the city could be protected from members like Hestia's familiar members, and also Loki's familiar members, and other familiar members as well. I figured that her punishment for losing would be that Freya would have to train the next generation of heroes so that the city wasn't as reliant, because the Blight novels established that the city needed her. And I always believed that the city needed her, she didn't need the city. They needed her much more. She didn't really have any attachments other than Belle and her familiar members, which, to be honest, I feel like she could have just ditched the familiar members and didn't care. And to be honest, with how things ended, it kind of showed that I don't think she really cared that much about her familiar members. And that's why I need to dig more deeper to kind of get a better idea of her thought process. But to be honest, I know I've read a lot about her already, and I can kind of generally guess that she probably really didn't care about her familiar members that much, which some people are going to see that as evil, but to be honest, the gods and the goddesses kind of act like that quite a lot. They treat the lower planes as if they're toys. And that's the thing about the gods and the goddesses. They see the world in a very different way, because they are divine entities. They see themselves above all else because they live forever. They are immortal. If they die on the lower planes, they just go back to heaven and they just oversee things. It's all just a game to them. This is all, and I emphasize, a game to them. So if it's all a game to them, of course they're going to do things that are really questionable. I mean, very questionable. So it's kind of one of those where people kind of see it as, oh my god, these gods. I mean, to be honest, all the gods and goddesses should be pulled into question, because what they're doing is just a giant game of chess for them, or checkers, or whatever type of game you want to word it as, but it is all just a game. I'm repeating myself, am I? But I want to emphasize that point. So when you look at other characters like Hermes is no better in my opinion. So if you think Freya's evil, Hermes is evil then, but I don't think Hermes is evil either. I just think he's a real douche canal, and I think he is just someone that needs a good kick in the tush. But getting to the point itself, the familiar members have been disbanded. She's told them to suck it up, move on. They've all left, and it's not really sure where they're all going to go, and I think the writer's just done that so it's a lot easier to explain things, because she was going to be exiled, but it seems to be she won't be exiled. So she hasn't been sent to the heavens. That's obvious, because Bel wasn't going to allow that. And she has technically been saved by Bel. But she is going to live her life as seer, with the waitresses at the hostess. Which, to be honest, she got the better end of the deal. Even though she's the one that did all these horrible things, she got the better end of the deal. Because now she doesn't have to worry about her familiar members. Now she can live the life that she actually wanted, which this is what she wanted all along. She wanted to live this life. You could tell, because this is why she did what she did at the start, where she became seer. Because she wanted to live a life that was more interesting and not so boring. This is exactly what she desired. Now she can be technically close to Bel, but not interfering in his life, because clearly the hostess girls and all that, and all the waitresses and all that, are going to clearly keep an eye on her. They're not going to let her get that close to Bel. She might be allowed to make him some lunches and, you know, sparkle her eyes at him, and that's about it, and maybe throw some flirtatious lines, but that's it. There's going to be no more lovey-dovey dates, none of that kind of stuff. It will be very much a distance, and I'm pretty sure Hestia familiar members in the city and the waitresses are going to make sure that that stays that way, and she will have to kind of repay her debt by just living her life there. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, she got the better end of the deal. Now the city's got to worry about not having her familiar members there to protect the city, because the city needed her. She didn't need the city, other than Bel was her only attachment. Now she just lives her life easy as seer at the hostess, and that's it. The city is now in jeopardy because outside influences could maybe attack, and that's how I see it, because I think this is what the author's done it for. I think, one, he's removed Freya out of the picture and made it just seer because it's easier to write, so he doesn't have to make it too overly complicated now. He can just kind of just stick to seer and kind of remove Freya out of the picture, because Freya, seer, they are the same person, but now he doesn't have to play dual identity with the writing. He can just kind of just rub Freya out and just have Seer as that character. So yes, Seer's gone, but she isn't gone because she's just, you get what I mean. So that means it's easier to write, but it also means it can create new problems down the line, and that means that outside influences could attack the city, because now the city is vulnerable, unless they kind of write it up as all of her familiar members go to other familiars, and that's it. But I don't think that's going to be as easy, cut and dry. I don't think they're all just going to just be happy to protect the city for the goodness of their heart. They might do it just because Freya's still living there and they still feel loyal to her, but I still think that's a bit of a weak excuse. I think what this will do is this will lead to future problems that the story will bring up that others will have to grow and overcome. Otherwise, it feels like the story kind of contradicts itself, because the story spent a lot of time establishing that the city needed Freya, and for her to be gone because they needed her because of her familiar members. Now that she's gone, the familiar members, some will probably leave the city, some will probably stay, but I think it will be kind of a mixture, which will mean it will be vulnerable. I have also heard that the story is going to be leaving the city, so for all the comments that I keep getting saying the story is boring because it's all focused in the city, I have heard that the story is going to be leaving the city now, which is going to be pretty awesome. I've also heard that it will be going into the education district, and it will be delving into a third quest and some lore behind it. I'll talk about that in more detail at a later date, but seems to be we are going to be getting some, and that is it, the ending parts for the volume, I believe. So it's clear that the story is very pivoty now. This major arc is over and things are going to be deviating very differently. So I'm very interested to see how the story plays out, and I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But the fact remains is that she gets the better end of the deal. She kind of spent her time in that the bar itself, and then kind of they all kind of had a bit of go at her, and then she kind of just said, you know, I want to stay as seer here. They all had a hug, all happy-go-y, and yeah, it's clear that I'm sorry. It's just really funny because Sia got the better end of the deal. But how would you interpret it? Do you think she got the better end of the deal, or do you think? I'm not sure how to ask the question because it is kind of an awkward one because it's just like, yeah, do you think so or not? Because I think some people really wanted her to be sent back to the heavens, but I think that was just never going to happen because Bel wouldn't allow it, even though a lot of other people did, and she kind of needed to face a punishment where she needed to repay for the damages that she's done, but that's never going to happen now, unless she just kind of just works it off by paying off a debt that's probably never going to be, well, uses her wages to pay off a debt, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So, love to know your thoughts. Of course, love to discuss it. I'll be making future videos on this topic in the future, so definitely check that out. If you like the video, hit the like, subscribe. See you beautiful nerds in the next video.